Hi, I'm your host, Kate. Welcome to Mental Health and Creativity Collide, where we explore everyday creatives. Whether you're a CEO, a chef, a death doula, or a professional actor, mental health and creativity are gifts we all have as humans. This podcast explores how our guests find balance between mental health and creativity. It is a celebration of their stories and an invitation for us to share our own. Here we go.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey. Hi. Hey. So I'm Kate. I'm the host for today, and we have an amazing lineup of incredible humans here with us. So hang on one second. I'm just pulling up. There we go. Okay. So we have Jess Anderson, also known as Stress in a Box.
Hello.
Creator and author. Hi, Jess. We have Kris Lori, an amazing photographer, and Charlie Danes, content creator and comedian. I would love all of you to just sort of introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about your creativity. But I thought before we begin, if it's okay with folks, I usually like to start with just a quick meditation to kind of get us into the space. If you'd like to participate, cool. If you're like, no thanks, you can make your screen invisible for a second or step off camera. If you're listening and you'd like to join, great. No pressure. So if it sounds good to you, just coming into a seat or a standing position that feels really supportive. You can keep your eyes open or closed. And as you inhale, just getting really tall. And as you exhale, just softening. And just allowing the breath to start to deepen a little as it feels supportive to you. And taking your attention to the chest. And next time you inhale, just think about the chest nice and slowly lifting. And as you exhale, it nice and slowly falls. And see if you can find a pace that feels really luxurious and good to you, but not so slow that it feels hard to breathe. Finding something that feels positive in your body. No wrong way to do it. And you can stay with this if this is feeling good, or you can add on and think about the ribs. So the next time you inhale, the chest expands, but so do the ribs in all directions, just keeping that nice steady pace of breath. Letting it rise and fall as it feels good to you. And adding the belly if you like. So next time you inhale, chest expands, ribs expand, so does the belly. And then letting that fall. The last thing to add on, if you're like, no kid, I have enough, this is perfect to stay where it feels good. But if it sounds good, you can start to count. So you're going to keep this natural pace you found and just naturally start to count as you breathe in. So for me, it usually hits about 4. I'm counting in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and pausing. And then breathing out for the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be any number that feels good to you. See if you can let the mind focus just on the breath or just on the counting for these next few moments. And I'm just going to be quiet for those few moments. And I'll talk you out. Cool. As you feel ready, and slowly start to let that go. Maybe you wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe it feels nice to move a little. Totally up to you. Guests on the podcast, there's no rush. But as you're ready to jump in, just give me a wave so I know you're ready. And no rush or pressure. Cool. Awesome. Thanks for doing that with me. I appreciate you. I always need it at the start anyway. Yeah, so I'd love to start with just a little bit of an introduction of the creativity that you do. And then maybe if it feels supportive, your first childhood creative memory or your earliest creative memory? Anybody who'd like to go first, or I can pick them if that feels good.
I guess I'll go ahead. My name is Kris Lori Fuentes Cortez, but God knows that's too long, so I go by Kris Lori. I'm a photographer. I currently work on Apple's photo team out here in California, and outside of that, I shoot shows and write poetry and try to dig into whatever I can. And the earliest memory of creativity, it's probably just simply making arts and crafts with my mom. I grew up very poor, so we would find construction paper that my dad brought left over from being a teacher, and we'd make arts and crafts in the house. And she was really inspired and kind of nurtured my creativity throughout my entire life. So, yeah.
That is really cool. Thank you for sharing. Charlie or Jess, are either of you?
I'll go. If Charlie doesn't want to, I'll go. My name's Jess, full name Jessica L.M. Anderson, but that's just what I have on books. My username on pretty much all of my social media is actually Stress in a Box, which is a interesting username. And I am a content creator, and I actually published my first book this year, and I'm working on my second one that's coming out next year. I just announced that it's gonna have a summer 2022 release. And my earliest memory of creativity, I don't remember a whole lot from my childhood. I'm going to be honest. I don't have the best childhood. So, but I do remember growing up in like middle school, like 4th, 5th, 6th grade, and doing like art competitions and writing competitions and things like that. And I took home a lot of first places, not to brag, but I do remember doing those. I still have the ribbons and everything too. So
that's so cool. Thank you.
That's awesome. I'm Charlie James. I'm a comedian. I do stand-up and sketch comedy. And thanks to COVID, most of what I do is online now. So I make TikTok videos and YouTube videos. My earliest creative memory, I was really into fairies as a kid, and I would make fairy houses. So we would like go into the woods, and I would spend like hours being like, this is the fairy hotel and this is the fairy hospital. And yeah, that was like my whole world until I was like 8.
That y'all are so cool. That's awesome.
That's adorable though.
Yeah. So y'all, I have some questions prepared for each of you individually and then some group questions. But if something feels organic to respond to, or a question I ask somebody else makes you think of something, please feel free to jump in at any point. Jess, I think I'd like to start with you. I was actually reading about your book, and it looks so cool. I love high fantasy.
Thank you.
But then also you have these amazing. It looks like guides to help people do cold dips. Is that right on your channel? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. There was a here. Let's see if I can find it. I'll put up. We're off to a great start, everybody.
It's all good.
No, but I'll pull it up and find out what's up. But you also have like intense YouTube content. I saw that you just decided to switch aspects of your business. I know you were selling products for a while.
Yep.
I know that you're writing your second book. I know that you're a many-faceted creator, and I just think it's amazing. But also, I was like, man, that's a lot to deal with, and I'm curious how you manage all that with your mental health. If there are other elements to your creativity that I'm not even listing. But yeah, how do you balance it all? It's really cool.
So I have ADHD for one. I feel like that should answer a lot of questions, but I tend to like to multitask and do a lot of things at once. There was a point where I was overdoing it, and that was for sure. And I mean, I was working like over 100 hours a week. I was running my own business. I was writing my books. I was working full time for a food and beverage company. Like I was doing all this stuff, and it was not a great time in my life. I will be entirely honest. And I did kind of have to take a step back and reevaluate what I was prioritizing and what I wanted to give my time to. Because I am definitely one of those people. I'm a big people pleaser. I don't like to tell people no. I'll do anything you ask, and that was a big problem. And yeah, this last year, specifically this last year, coming out of 2020 where all the chaos was and into 2021, early in the year, I kind of had to take a step back and figure out what is it that I actually want to do? What is it that I actually enjoy doing? And a lot of it has kind of, you know, switched around my content. I was doing a lot of animal content, which was not what I originally was doing when I started doing content creation. And I'm trying now to kind of get back to my roots of what I had originally started doing on social media and what I originally wanted to do. And it's helped a lot. And it's more of like a self-discipline type of thing where I had to become self-aware of it, if that makes sense. My friends and family were watching me literally spiral and go crazy and not sleep and not eat and go literally insane. And I kind of had to learn it myself that I needed to step back and be like, hey, you're killing yourself a little bit here with all this stuff you're doing.
Was there like a turning point for you or something that was like, wow, that was the edge?
Yeah. For me, I wasn't in the best living situation. I was originally living in Chicago for the last 10 years. And I just moved to Georgia. And I was kind of going through a bad instance with a roommate where I was literally like supporting everything. I was paying for everything. I was paying rent. I was paying bills. I was paying all the stuff. And I kind of hit my point where I like at that, I don't know how to explain it, where I kind of like sat there and I looked at everything and looked at myself and what I was doing and how I was, you know, kind of being used as the yes man type of person, because I would just say yes to everything. I would do everything for everybody, and had to kind of take a step back. And that was kind of my turning point. Was just a specific instance with that roommate that I was living with. And I don't want to go into detail on it, but it was a specific instance with my roommate where I was like, damn, I need to reevaluate what I'm doing. And now I'm in Georgia and I'm doing a lot better.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I have one more follow-up question to you, and then I'd love to open it up to Kris and Charlie too, because I think it kind of applies to all artists, especially, you know, it's cool. I got to learn about you all on social media first, and now get to speak with you. So I think sometimes on social, it's very easy to be like, wow, these people are all following their passions. They're all being creative. They're all talking about mental health. Wow, how cool. But like, we rarely talk about the journey of like how you get there. So like, I know you mentioned like getting back to what you love, or actually I have a quote that I wrote down from one of your videos that I really dug is, let's see. Yeah, doing the content I want to do, not the content that's going to make me relevant. And I feel like that's such a hard thing to find. I know you mentioned like cosplay, makeup tutorials. Yeah, like that's sort of thing. Yeah. How do you decide when you're making? How do you decide what you really want to do? Like what's innate in you? I'd love to open that to all of you.
That's an excellent question. For me, and I kind of had this realization probably like a month or two ago, where I kind of like sat down and specifically with writing, because like I said, just published a book. I kind of sat there and I realized that like where I was kind of at right now, with where I was working on my books and I was making like makeup videos, and I haven't really gotten too back into cosplay yet, but doing like my makeup videos and stuff, I kind of sat there and I realized I was like, this is the first time in my life where I actually like I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I that's the best way I can explain it, is like I was sitting there and I was like, for once in my life, I feel like really confident and comfortable where I'm at. And I actually want to be doing this. Like I'm waking up every day being like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm having fun with what I'm doing, and people are liking what I'm doing. And I don't like you said with the quote where it's like, I was making content. I wanted to start making content that didn't necessarily make me relevant anymore, but what was fun for me to do. And I actually recently was helping someone with a research paper that was very similar to this on creators and mental health. And he kind of pointed it out, because I've been doing this for like 3 years now. He's like, I feel like you're at the point of enlightenment where you're kind of realizing that the numbers don't really dictate your worth. And I totally, like, after he said it like that and he worded it like that, and I was like, I think he's right. I think I have kind of hit my point where I'm realizing the views don't matter, the likes don't matter, all of that stuff doesn't matter, because if I sit there and I focus on it, I'm just going to continually kind of go down this rabbit hole of like, what is my self-worth? If I start basing who I am as a person on the numbers, I'm never going to be happy. So I kind of just tried to take a step back and stop doing that. I don't even look at my analytics anymore. Don't look at your analytics. Never look at your analytics.
I love that. Thank you. What a great answer. Kris, Charlie, any thoughts on that? Like, how do you decide what you love? Or are you doing what you love? It looks like it from the outside. How does it feel right now from you?
Yeah, I feel like I am. I feel like kind of incapable of doing things I don't want to do.
That's awesome.
And I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, it's good and it's bad, but I feel like as far as making comedy, if I don't find it funny or if I'm not enjoying the making of it, then I have no interest in doing it. And just following that, like, well, what do I want to make today that will, I don't know, somehow help me continue? And then, yeah.
Is there a way, like, does it have a feeling to you, or you just wake up and you're like, I know what I want to make, and this is awesome, and like it's here? Like, is there a muse that's just like
usually that, like, it sort of just like reveals itself, like, oh, today I'm gonna do this thing. But I think anytime I try to over plan or have like a schedule of being creative, it doesn't work for me. I know some creative people are so regimented like that. And that amazes me. I feel like I get up every day and I'm like, who's to say what will happen? But for me, that's worked, just like on the days you have the motivation to make something, go for it. And on the days you don't, just kick back, relax. Yeah, I'm sticking to that for now.
I love it. Yeah, that's inspiring to me. I have a hard time doing that, but it always feels so good when I reach that level. So very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And cool to you if you're an organizer and you're listening. That's, like you said already, Charlie, whatever works.
Totally. Yeah. Teach me,
Yeah. Kris,
Yeah.
What about you? Are you doing what you love, or how do you find the things you love as a creative?
I balance a very fine line because my creativity led me to where I am. Like, I'm very grateful to be in the position I am, but I am in a corporate world.
Yeah.
So, a lot of it is high pressure, very demanding. So it takes a toll on me sometimes. So whenever I can go fit in to go shoot a show or a festival, I try. And I feel like I ride the same kind of wave of like, some days I wake up and on a weekend, I'm like, I'm going to go to the beach and go photograph landscape and just create what I want. And other days I'm just like, I ain't doing shit. I am going to just chill back, hang out, sip some coffee, and we'll just see what the hell happens later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a very teetering thing because it's like career-wise, it's not necessarily where I want to be with my art, but my work has also exposed me of how far I can push my art and what I want to do next and kind of shape in my vision for, next year and what I want to be taking on. So I'm much more than just my concert photography. I want to try more fine art. And that is a very interesting thing to explore for me because that was just never something I considered. So.
Well, I feel like your work, like, I mean, like, obviously I like photography, but I'm not a photographer. But like, there's a piece that I saw of yours with there's light all around the dancer, like at a concert, or maybe it's not even a dance. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's churches. Yeah.
Do you mind if I share it? If I give it to the network so we can put it on the screen? It's
Go right ahead.
I think I have it pulled up, but it goes well into my question I had for you. Here, I'll pull this up and put it in the private chat real quick for network. Network, I just put it in the chat if you wouldn't mind to share. Yeah, your art has such movements, and I thought it was really interesting when I was reading about you on your website how you started with concerts, moved into more corporate, and like actually moved locations, and then
Yeah.
and like that's something that I think a lot. I just think that's such a cool photo. Wow, like how you got like the perfect symmetry and the movement of it. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. That was a great show. That was like my last year of living here in Chicago.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was a great experience. But yeah, I'm so sorry. I just zoned out for a minute.
I do that all the time. You're great. I will do that at some point. No, but I just thought I think it has such like I don't know a better word for it, but like movement, like that's such a high art photo. Like, did you kind of like know innately that was what you wanted to do early on? Like, what made you? So let me be more clear. I think I'm rambling too. I zoned out as well. I think so many artists move from like doing their own organic stuff into more corporate into like organic stuff again, and it's constantly flowing like that because, like one, like you said, it can make you grow. Two, like there's stability and flow to that. And I'm curious, like what that journey was like for you. Like, do you like innately know these things? Do you wait for opportunities to come and you take the opportunities, or are you like pretty active about like, this is the next step and I'm going to try that for a while?
Well, I'll be completely honest. It's all a sham. I never did anything. So I was never, there's so many photographers I meet today who are like, oh yeah, I played with my parents' like film camera and like I loved it. And I was like, I had a Kodak camera I used for MySpace selfies. No guilt. And I was just searching online, and it was all through via Facebook, but randomly concert photography fell into my lap. And I was not a social person. I was very closed off and like such a low to high school. So I was just like, well, I'm not getting invited to parties or like hanging out with people. Let's go shoot shows. So I do that. And so when I moved to Chicago, that's when I finally got to meet a group of creatives and got to kind of push what I wanted to do with my concert photography. Because growing up, going to concerts, we didn't have money for that. We barely had money for essentials. So let alone take it to a concert. And I wanted to capture these moments that could live forever, or, you know, put in a gallery where maybe kids in my situation could look at them and be like, wow, that looks so cool. Like, that's awesome. It almost feels like I'm there. And I think that's where the movement and emotion comes from. I want to capture those really rare instances. And then when it comes to like it growing from just concert photography to corporate or to other realms, like I do wedding photography, I do engagements. And I think it's because as a photographer, you need to understand that you're more than just someone who holds a camera, you're a person. And when people can learn to trust you and they feel like, oh, I feel like I'd love for you to give it a shot, that's really how this all happened. And then that big jump into corporate didn't happen because I was looking for it. It was actually because I had to like, it was more of a fight or flight. I got laid off from like a startup and I was like, we gotta make money. And I got the one thing that maybe I can in the meantime. So I did freelancing. And then essentially the people that trust me and created relationships with me, from meeting them in the pit, meeting them through my photography, landed me the job I have today. So
that is really brave. That's very cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, that was badass. I'm curious for all of you, you know, like I find it can be, for me personally, maybe this is a wrong perception for your realities, but it can be hard to find the balance of like mental health, stability, and creativity. Like how do you find that balance for yourself? Like how do you decide like, okay, yeah, right, yeah, like maybe you don't know.
Sorry, my reaction, my facial expression.
That would have been fine for you.
I can't control them.
No, I loved it. But I'm curious how each of you are different. Like, how do you find the balance in your lives as creatives? Because I think it's hard. I think inquiring minds want to know. I want to learn from you for sure.
There's supposed to be a balance.
I know. Yeah,
I was about to say that. Because I tend to just go and go and go until my brain feels like it's going to explode, which is probably not what I should be doing at all.
It's hard not to though, right? Because like it's I don't feel like we're set up to I don't know, maybe to not like to be supported might be a little harsh, but like you know, you need to be able to pay rent, you need to be able to eat, you need to be able to make things. Like there's only so many hours in the day. If for me, like I don't always have enough juice to like do all the things. If my depression's acting up, I don't know what it's like for all of you, but like you know, how do you find balance in them? I think it makes sense that doesn't always happen, but it's so inspiring that you all continue to make art and take care of yourselves. So that was a long-winded tangent, but please continue to answer the question if you have thoughts on it.
I feel like for me, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I feel like in my experience, the creating is not draining for me. That is because I don't work in a corporate environment, or like I do, but it's remote. So no one has to, you know, talk to me about what I'm creating face to face. It's less draining versus like the balance it's hard to find for me has been between paying rent, working, everything else, and the creative side. And I've definitely had jobs where I get home at the end of the day and I'm too exhausted to spend time on art, or even like just kind of unwinding in creativity. Like I love to paint while watching TV because then I can like do two things at once and kind of get some me time up here. But I always find like allotting creativity time and being like, these hours are reserved for making this thing, blocking off time and saying like, I have to work on anything creative that I want. That's what's worked best for me. Because really the only thing that stops me from like creating something is like, work was terrible today or something. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, thank you.
And I'm one of those people that kind of schedules a little bit. I don't personally like stick to the schedule like hardcore, but there's like specific things I need to get done during the week, so I make sure like I actually have like an Excel document with like, this is what I do Monday, this is what I do Tuesday, this is what I do Wednesday. And I leave myself a lot of open space to kind of have that creative freedom to do other things. I'll admit, I'm currently right now in a state of just like creative burnout, and I'm planning on not really doing too many like huge projects until like the new year. And I've kind of been in that kind of flux for like the last couple months because I moved and like all this crazy stuff going on. I was like, nah, now's a good time to kind of step back and take a break and not really, you know, I don't have to make content today if I don't want to make content type of thing. I definitely have to kind of, when I hit creative burnout, I have to take a few days where I just like don't do anything at all. I just watch movies, lay in bed, rewatch the MCU, whatever, you know.
For sure.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like for me, it's for a long time, my balance of my creativity and also just keeping my well-being was concerts. And then we all know that 2020, I didn't have that. So then I had to like go straight into therapy, and I was like, what's wrong with me? These are things I've been masking with concerts. So there was that. But I feel like now that concerts are back and whatnot, and I've kind of probably did an unhealthy thing of like diving full force. Like I was not home for most of September. I was mostly covering shows, and I realized by October, and I was like, you did something wrong. You need to chill. So I think for me now, it's like setting those boundaries. I can't set a schedule because they change all the time. I'd like to. I like this idea you two have. I need this. But it's also setting those boundaries of like, hey, this weekend, there's a show. Do I need to shoot it? Or can I like chill out and spend time with friends out in nature, spend time with my partner? You know, what can we do here? So it's just setting those boundaries and allow myself not to get too involved on the screen either, because everything I do in my life is around the screen. And then if I'm not, I'm on social media checking out photos of like other shows people have thought, and I'm like, oh no, now I'm going to compare myself. So let's just step away from everything if we have the chance. So
yeah, that brings up something for me that I struggle with very much so, and then Charlie, I have a specific question for you that I think ties into this as well. But and Jess, you already talked about this a little bit, but just like, don't look at the views. Like you all create content online and are all very much in that world. Like, how do you avoid the comparison brain? For me, it's really hard. Is it something that you can tune out pretty easily, or do you have habits or things that help you with that?
I know I said don't look at the analytics, but it still happens.
For me, I look at analytics all the time, but then I try not to like, I'm fine comparing myself to myself. I'm not okay comparing myself to other people. So it's anytime I start to look at other people's work and feel that envy of like, oh my gosh, they're at this place in their career that I wish I was at. And I start to have those thoughts of like, why not me? That's what I'm like, turn off your phone, go outside, look at a bird. You need to relax. Because if you get too wrapped up in that, it really is hard to, you get burnt out so easily because you're like, it's about the numbers, and it's literally not. I turn off my phone.
I mean, mine's more of like, I want to call it like creator envy. Like I'll watch other people who like started around the same time I did and see that they're like, they got so many more followers and their videos get so many more views. And I'm like, why can't I be like that? And I would say it's like more of like a creative envy thing. Like envious of that creator and where they are, but like at the same time, I'm like, man, I'm super proud of you. Look at you go. Look at you go. Look at you do all these things. And I kind of like, maybe one day that'll happen to me, but that's gonna not stop me from feeling a little bit like I wish I were you some days. Yeah. And I think that's like a natural response.
Yeah,
totally. There's this psychology concept that I'm obsessed with called envy to contempt sublimation, which is a long-winded way of saying like you see someone who has what you want, and then in your head you go like, oh, well, they're not a very good this, or I don't like how you create reasons why you don't, why you're upset that they have success and you don't, when in reality it's like you have to zoom out and say, actually what I'm doing is aspiring to be like them. I don't dislike them or feel like genuinely negative feelings from their content. I'm like amazed by them. So I try anytime I'm like comparing myself to be like, well, you just want what they have. And that's a totally healthy feeling, to want to be more creative, you know?
Yeah.
I love that, like flipping it on its head so it's just self-awareness. You're like, oh, that's what I want. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
if I'm upset, it's probably because I think they're really cool. So
Kris, what about you? Do you struggle with this at all, or are you like
all the time?
Yeah.
All the time. No, especially because I feel like so many friends are back on tour, and I see them like on tour and doing these amazing things, and just like to your point, it's like, yeah, it's encouraging of like, yeah, go get them. And then also I'm just like, God damn it. What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Or, you know, even now it's so funny. My friend called me out the other day. I was just like, yeah, I want to do these videos for, you know, TikTok. And I should like explain some of my experience and whatnot. And he looked at me and he was just like, girl, we'll do something. Cause then I get so in my head that I paralyze myself. I'm just like, right, I guess I should do these things if I wanted. But I do compare myself a lot, and it's definitely something that gets me time to time. But luckily there are kind of those moments of reason in my head where it's like, hey, your path is very different than everyone else's. I mean, technically I'm supposed to go to school for doctor, and that path didn't work out. And, you know, my other friends from college, they're all doctors or nurses. And my path is just very different, but it'll work out in due time. So, but yeah.
I love that. Yeah. You both mentioned nature, and Jess, I know that you have a lot of animal love too. Like, are those? I would love to know if those are consistent things that you do to ground yourself, or if not, if there's like other things that come to mind. Like, do you have anything that you're like, wow, feeling the comparison brain? I'm feeling myself shut down. I need a minute. Like, is it nature? Is it something else? Is it games? Is it like,
animals? My animals.
Yeah.
Like, nothing's better for my brain than like a solid 2 hours of just animal maintenance, where I just like focus on cleaning or doing water changes or whatever. That's really helpful for me. And sometimes even if I'm just stressed out, I'll literally just go sit and stare at my fish tank. I'm not even kidding. Like, just watch them swim around. And
so nice.
It's like therapeutic. Like, I need to get in my new room, in my new place, I need to get an aquarium in my room so I can wake up and just stare at fish, because it just calms me down so much.
That's beautiful. I love that.
What kind of animals do you have? Your fish?
I have axolotls, which are like an aquatic salamander, betta fish, and then I have terrestrial snails, so the like little ones that crawl around under rocks. Cats, like I have what's called a dwarf siren, which is another type of salamander. Like I collect, but I take very good care of all of them, contrary to popular belief.
Yeah, people judge. They don't know.
Oh, they do so bad. They do so bad. It's awful. I think that's one of the main reasons I stopped making my animal content as much, as I just got tired of the hate comments, and it would be like people who literally just did not know what they were talking about.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot about animal creation content.
If you look at a lot of animal creators, you'll kind of see that they eventually kind of pull back, or they stop posting altogether, like, because it's an awful niche to be in.
Yeah. it might be to not do it, but do you have any advice for creatives who might
Don't do it. No. Just like for me in general, like the biggest thing you need to know is just be confident in what you're doing. Like if you are confident in your care, that's all you need to worry about. You don't need, if somebody else does it different, they do it different and they might think the way you're doing it wrong. But if your animals are healthy and happy and well taken care of and you are confident in your care, that's all that matters. You can block people. You can delete their comments. Best thing I ever learned was you can filter comments. So if someone repeatedly talks about something, you can just filter that word out and then you never have to see it again. And it's great. It's the best discovery I ever made.
That actually is really good to know. Like that's
yeah,
awesome.
Filter your comments. Like if you don't want somebody talking, like you can filter out any word you want and then you never have to see the comments. And it was the best discovery of my life.
What word did you use? Can I ask? Or is it?
There's a lot. There's a lot of different words because people find a lot of different things to nitpick about. I mean, I get nitpicked about my weight as a creator too. So that's like one thing I have, like, you can't comment anything like that's going to be like shaming. That's all blocked. Anything about like, I'm really self-conscious about my teeth because they're not pearly white is like some other creators. So I've completely banned all those words from being used. And yeah, a lot of people very concerned about my water bill. That's actually blocked from being seen as well.
So people are so weird.
They are.
So
They
sorry.
are. They're very weird and they comment very strange things. And I just blocklist all of those words, all of them.
Good for you. Yeah. Oh man, absolutely. Kris or Charlie, do you have anything that you're like that you do to like take care of yourself or to ground yourself? What are your fish in the morning?
Yeah, what are my fish?
What are your fish?
What are my fish? I walk a lot and I run a lot. I try to be outside, for at least some amount of time during the day. Although I know, COVID times, that was not great advice because you couldn't leave your house. So I think also trying to find indoor things that make me happy in case we go quarantine round 2. Hopefully not. But yeah, I do a lot of like painting. Right. I know, every surface I'm like, please. A lot of painting. I also block people all the time. I delete comments every day. It is so easy. I always start to respond.
The block list is crazy.
Yeah. In my head, I go, I can easily refute XYZ thing you've said. And I go into the argumentative mode and then I go, nope, I just delete it. It's not worth it.
There's even like sometimes if I get like a comment that really riles me up, I'll like do a video response and then never post it.
That's so
I
smart.
get it out. I get it all out and then like just never post it. No one sees it.
That's awesome.
Truly. Just for you.
Yeah. What about you, Kris? What are your fish?
I wish I had fish. It's my records. I love putting on my records.
You've got like vinyl?
Yeah, I got my vinyls. I always end up going to Sugar's Records in Chicago every time I'm in town. Spent far too much money. But no, I love my records. I love sitting down, putting on my records, singing along to music, journaling, drinking coffee, chilling out. I mean, Charlie, I used to go to a coffee shop all the time and just sit my laptop down and just go to town for hours. So
that was the best. Yeah.
It was honestly. It was great. It was always a pleasure to see you. Always. So yeah.
It's so fun.
Is that how you all met? Or
yeah, I worked at the Sip of Hope coffee shop and Kris would come in all the time. And it was great because it was like having a friend visit while you're working.
That's
is
very
like
cool.
the best feeling. Yeah.
And I just sit there with a mug. Hit me again.
Yeah, keep it coming. Coffee.
Yeah,
that's great. A good answer. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Actually, that kind of ties into Charlie. I feel like you create such beautiful, vulnerable content with your stand-up and with your videos. Like it's very you, and at least from somebody who doesn't know you, right? It feels like that. but I think it is very brave. And like, is that something that's inherently a part of your art, or something that you made a conscious decision to do? Because I do feel like there's a sort of shift to be more vulnerable online, but also you deal with these comments, and you deal with a lot. Like, what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there are some comedians who, like, for them, their humor is very observational about things that are external. And for me, I feel like most of my life has been stranger than anything I could write. So I talk a lot about like true experiences and get a lot of comments like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that's true. And it's like, well, it happened to me. And I kind of prefer to do that just because it's something I can uniquely offer versus like I'm less the other type of comedian that's like internally I'm judging other things. I'm more like, man, has anyone ever had this insane experience? Well, like I talk about a restraining order that I got last year in my stand-up a lot against someone who was stalking me. And that story, like being able to tell that story so often is pretty therapeutic because I get to be like, hey, something insane happened in my life and I would love to make jokes about it. And that's been really healing and like kind of fun too, because you get to laugh about this thing where like at the time it was not funny, but now with space and knowing that the end of the story is good, you can like make fun of it.
Is the alchemy of like that for you, like, does it happen pretty immediately, like as soon as you perform it, or you're like, oh, I feel better, or is it like 50 times in? Like,
that's a good question. You know what is interesting? I find it happens for me pretty quickly and for the audience slowly. So part of performing, especially live, is being like, I'm telling you something that sounds traumatic, but I am okay because I'm here, I'm performing it, and I'm comfortable enough that I'll tell complete strangers. So gaining that trust of like, the end of this story is I am alive and well. Versus like for me, I'm ready to joke about it immediately. But not everyone is ready to come on that journey with you. I think people are like, oh no, that sounds really awful. But I'm like, eh.
Like you see like the journey of like cringe face to, oh, they're okay. Like
yeah. Cool. There's like topics that are harder to talk about, I think. And not because they're hard for like the performer, but because it's hard to get the audience to feel comfortable laughing. To be like, let's all laugh about the time I broke my leg. Whereas in their head, they're like, oh my gosh, that sounds awful. You broke your leg. You know?
Did you, this kind of ties into a larger question for the three of you, but so you make these lovely like shorthand videos, which I'd love to share one if you're comfortable.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So I'll share that in just a minute, but also total sidebar, if you're listening and you have questions for any of these amazing humans, please put it in the comments, and then in about 15 more minutes, we'll like go into the question area. Like we'll just keep talking too, but if you have questions, please put them in the chat. But oh, there went the brain block moment. There it is. Okay, so it's back. You've started making amazing content online, and I know you mentioned that was partly because of the pandemic. Like, was that something you always wanted to do, or was that something that you're like, this is necessity, I must create, this is the only way?
Yeah, I think sometimes people, because I'm so online, think I'm passionate about social media, and I'm really not. It's like the only way that people can see the work I do. So the thing I'm passionate about is comedy, but then it just so happens that the way I can dispense that is the internet. So I would never have made online videos if it weren't for the pandemic. I would have just kept doing live performance only. But I'm grateful. I mean, I think that was actually a good next step that I would have never thought to do if we hadn't not been allowed to leave our homes. So yeah,
I feel fun. Like it evolved art in that way. I think a lot faster. Like I think it would have always gone, personally, I think it would have always gone there, but it would have been like 10, 15 years to get to the extent that we're online now. I don't know. Does that resonate with anybody else, or like, yeah? Maybe
Yeah.
not.
Well, yeah, a little bit. I can see it.
Jess, I mean, like, so you're very present online as well, and also very vulnerable in your work. Is that something like, did you become more online during the pandemic as well, or has that always been your medium of choice?
I mean, if you go back, you can see I made videos in high school. They weren't very good and no one watched them, but I made them in high school. And I think it was always something I kind of wanted to pursue. I love like making videos. I have a master's in film. Like it's always been something I've liked to do. And I actually took off because of the pandemic. So I was making content and I had like maybe, because I'm really present on TikTok as well. I had maybe like 180,000 followers, and then like right into 2022, everything started blowing up. TikTok was blowing up, my content was blowing up. It was a great time to be a TikToker at the beginning of the pandemic because so many people were downloading the app and getting on there. So that's definitely like encouraged more people, and I wouldn't say so much me making content, but it blew up my content in a way that I was never expecting would happen. And yeah, so definitely the pandemic helped with that. I was still making content before that, but the pandemic just blew up the content and got me a much bigger following. And it was like I literally gained like 1 million followers in a week. It was very stressful.
Without any, like, there was nothing that triggered it. You just all of a sudden get online one day and you're like, holy shit.
There was like a specific series of videos that went viral. Because I have my axolotls, and like one of my like hobbies was breeding them. And I would share those videos online, and I had shared those videos online in 2019. I had shared those videos online in 2017.
Wow.
But it just lined up perfectly with that pandemic happening and people downloading the app and everything, and the video just like blew up and went crazy, and it was like just in a week I had all these new followers.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was for something I only did as a hobby, which really threw my account wacky. But
did it feel 90% good, 10% stressful, or like
it was 90% stressful, 10% good.
Yeah.
This might be something that nobody really like probably maybe hasn't gone through, but it's like the feeling of blowing up that quickly in that short amount of time, your brain kind of just short circuits. And like literally there was like 3 days where like I didn't eat, I didn't sleep, I had to take off work because I was just like and there was a moment where my sister literally came into my room and she took my phone and she goes, "You're going to sleep." She took my phone, she took my laptop, and she just closed me in my room and she's like, "You're going to sleep." Yeah, it was crazy.
I feel like we rarely talk about that. It's like, oh man, I wish that I had this overnight success. I wish that I had it. But then everybody I know that's happened to is like, actually, it's very intense. And like,
yeah, it is.
Not to say it's not, it doesn't have a great component, right? Like, but that's a lot. And also to even like know how to handle yourself anymore. Like, how do you respond to all the people? Like the way that
that was my biggest issue was like, because I was like smaller beforehand, I was very active in my comment section. And when my video started going off and everything was getting views, and it wasn't even just like the axolotl videos, like I was doing makeup videos and stuff still around them too. All of them were getting like millions of views and thousands of comments. And I wanted to respond to every single comment because that is what I had done beforehand. And I kind of had to sit there and be like, I can't do that, or I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah.
It's very like, everybody's like, oh, that's the dream. And I'm like, no, it's kind of a nightmare for like a couple weeks.
Yeah. Thank you. I think it's like so helpful too, because so often we like romanticize shit like that.
Yeah.
It's so helpful to keep it all in perspective.
I mean, I'm so thankful it happened, completely changed my life, but it was a very stressful time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we've been talking about all this amazing art. If you're listening, I do definitely want to share art from Charlie and from Jess too, and we will do that in just a moment, just because you got to get a taste, so you want to get more of their amazing people. And I've already seen Kris's photos. And by the way, if we're talking and there's something that you'd like to share, please just like mention, and we'll definitely throw it up. But Kris, I know you'd mentioned how the pandemic had changed your ability to go to concerts, which was like a huge medium for your creativity. Did you stay creative during the pandemic, or I mean, like I know inherently with your job, there's that, but like, what was that like for you? Did you take a break? Did you function on a different level?
It was a really odd time because even for work, I travel a lot for work currently, and so everything shut down. We were just not allowed to do anything. So it was weird, but it allowed me to do two things. One, explore other avenues of photography I hadn't in a long time. So I had moved to California pretty much a couple months before the pandemic, like shut everything down. And without having a community here, I was kind of like, well, all I got are these trees and suns. I might as well make the most of it. So I'd walk to the beach a lot because I grew up in Boston, so the beach reminded me of home. So I'd go and photograph and just try to look at things a different perspective. And I think it allowed me to, see what else I can do. Besides that, I was trying to work on my poetry and journaling a lot. But it was a really awful time because it was not only tough to see like the industry kind of change completely, but I had felt for a lot of my friends who were full-time freelancing and people whose entire lives were on production or being on the road with the music industry. So it was a lot of calls and talking to friends and kind of supporting each other and seeing what you can do. But yeah, other than that, and took a big dive back into therapy and trying to work it out of what does this mean? What can I do? How can I not only be a resource to my friends, but continue to support myself? Because it's a lot of bad news. So, but the other types of photography, the landscapes, the walks, I think that, I mean, if I'd stayed in Chicago at the time, I don't think I would have been in a great place. Even full-time freelance, and I would have been just like my friends. And so it was a blessing to be out here. And I was watching a lot of Charlie's videos. So, that really kept me going. So
Cool. Yeah.
That's so sweet.
It was great. I loved it. Oh my goodness. I would share with all my friends. One time, one of my friends texted me and was like, okay, we get it. They're funny. And I was like,
stop sending it.
I sent so many.
I love that. That makes me feel so good.
Do you have a favorite video, Charlie?
Oh man.
Okay, if not, I'm totally putting you on the spot.
So many though. I can't pick one. I just can't.
Valid.
You and your
No
alien
worries.
friend just had me rolling all the time.
Oh yeah, we did a lot of those.
Oh my
Early
gosh.
pandemic, yeah.
Oh god, it was so funny. And then you and your truck too.
I was in my car a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived there for 6 months, 8 months of the pandemic. I lived in my van. It was like a camper van, and I would work from there.
So cool.
So a lot of videos in the van. What'd you say?
I said, to me, that sounds really cool. Did it feel cool, or was it stressful?
I loved it. I think other people would have been stressed by it, but I liked it. It was like exactly what I needed. Yeah. Except for the snow during the winter, it was bad.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Did you set it up yourself? Like, speaking of being creative, did you set up the van yourself, or?
I did. Yeah. As soon as we went into lockdown the first time, I basically just like started going to Home Depot all the time. That was my outlet. So I'd like, double mask up and go to Home Depot and get a bunch of wood to work on the van. And yeah, a fun little side project.
I'm obsessed with van videos, so this is so cool to me. I'd watched your videos in the van, but I didn't realize you were living in it. That's so neat. Yeah.
Yeah. On and off. Not I don't live in it right now, but yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. One of the videos I saw in the van that I really liked, I'm gonna bastardize it, and I apologize. I tried to find it again.
Get in there.
But it was it's like you're talking to somebody like at home for the holidays. You're like, yeah, like how sometimes I like bring home a girlfriend, sometimes I bring home a boyfriend, but like I'm queer all the time. And I was like, that's the best way to describe it.
Explaining to my grandmother or something. Yeah.
I was like, that's amazing. And I feel like I'm going to share this video with my family because I'm also queer. And I was like, what a perfect, succinct, funny, but also like really clear moment. Like
explanation. Yeah. I think interestingly, like, exactly like you were saying about staying away from animal content, I now have to really be specific when I talk about like identity and queerness online, because people seek out communities that they can, be homophobic towards, or like there are people who search for content in order to be jerks about it. And I make less stuff like that now, but in the beginning, it was a huge part of building that audience. And now I can trust the people who see my videos found me through those kind of videos, and they are like other queer people who are awesome. So yeah, pulled back from it, but still very much like that's the community that got me where I am. And yeah.
That's really cool, but also like thank you for being vulnerable about it, because something like, I think we don't talk about. It's like there's a fear with putting yourself out there online, and like to hear about like bravery and ways to set up boundaries, and it's like how to block comments and how to like adjust and like thrive in it.
Yeah.
Is so cool. So thank you all, because I feel like you've all spoken to that today. There is one. We'll see if I can pull it up, and then Jess, I'd be curious too, and you can think about this, because again, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I have a couple of videos of yours I really like, but also if you'd be more comfortable, I'd also just love to hear more about your book, because the plot seems really cool, and
yeah.
And also there's a new audiobook that just came out, right?
Yes, the audiobook came out in early November, but I'll actually really would love to share the specific reason I came out with an audiobook, actually. So I actually have a really hard time reading, which is crazy to think of because I wrote a whole book, but I have a really hard time reading. Like I have ADHD, I have really bad concentration issues. I tend to like start a project and then walk away and then have to come back to it and like, where was I? So one of the main reasons I actually did do the audiobook was for people who are like that. Because I had a lot of my followers who were asking for it, and they were specifically like, well, I have ADHD, or I'm dyslexic, or things like that. And they're like, I have a really hard time reading, or I'm a stay-at-home mom, I don't have time to read a book. Like, could you do an audiobook? And that was like the specific reason I did it, was for the people who are in those situations, or where they have the inability to kind of like sit still, or like have a harder time reading, so they could listen to it. And it's been like the response to the audiobook has been so awesome, because everybody just loves, like the guy I hired, his name's Patrick. They love Patrick so much. He has like a little fan base within my fan base, and it's adorable.
I'm so glad you spoke to that too, because I'm similar. I have something called Erland syndrome, and I'm dyslexic. So, I like to read, but sometimes it's just so much more supportive to listen. And I like to go on walks too, and like listen to my audiobook in one ear, and it's just like so healing. So I'm really jazzed to listen to it. But thank you for addressing that, because there's weird stigma on it still. Like I'll tell people, they're like, well, you should just read it. I'm like, it's not better for your brain. I looked up the research. Both are great.
And I wanted everybody to be able to have the opportunity to read it and listen to it. I mean, it's having, as many people be able to enjoy the story is what I want, because it's a story that's like, really, really close to my heart. I actually came up with like the whole world when I was 12 as like my form of escapism. Like literally daydreaming in class. That was what I was doing when I was 12, all the way through high school and college and everything. And being able to put that on paper and have people read it and just like genuinely enjoy the world and the characters I created has just been so cool.
Yeah. Did you actively sit down to write it? Like, how long did it take you to write the book? I'm so curious. Like when you started.
So the actual like I said, I have like tons of characters in my head that are all in this world that I made. Cool. But like actually sitting down and picking which character's story I wanted to tell, I actually didn't do until like August of 2020. And then I sat down and I wrote the beginning of that specific character's story. And it was really hard to pick like one character that I like wanted to talk about. So there's definitely going to be like spin-offs, and it's going to keep going. But being able to like pick a character and decide how his story was going to go started in August of 2020. And then I got laid off from my job because of the pandemic in April of this year. And so that kind of like lit fire under me and got the book out. And it's been a crazy roller coaster ever since.
Wow. Again, I think all of you have been so brave, which I find so inspiring, to like be hit with adversity and to say, you know what, I'm going to make shit, is really amazing. I also I do want to mention, I think I've been asking the questions like the pandemic's over. It's like,
I know.
it's not, right? Like, we're talking about like when the first so like, yeah, like effects are still happening. But thank you. That's great. Okay, cool. I think we're gonna share a link to the book. So if any of you want to listen or read the book, like please check it out. The comments. And then I do want to share. Let's see. I was gonna share, Charlie. I like the one with the jelly thing from the 90s. You know what I'm talking about? The like it looks like
I do know what you're talking about.
Okay, if I share it?
Yeah, go for it. It's very adult, but please.
Is that yeah,
this is good.
Okay, this is a short video if you have young children watching. Maybe, I don't know. I think it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, we give them to children. That's really chiefly what I think is weird.
This is what I thought was so funny. So I'm putting it in the chat network if you would please share when ready. But yeah, it just tickled me. I was watching it a few days ago. I was like, this is amazing. Or yesterday. I don't know what day it is. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, thanks for being open to
actually purchasing the prop for this. I went into a toy store and I said, do you guys have the, one of these? And she was like, I don't think you're at the right place. And I was like, no, I am. Oh, I think it won't let you in because you're, yeah.
Oh,
no, it'll let, okay.
Are you or a loved one?
How's that work?
Are you or a loved one a 90s kid who stuck your fingers in a water snake and now you're gay? You may be entitled to financial compensation. This is Charlie James, former comedian, current homosexual. They lost their virginity at the age of 15 when they thought, oh, hey, this feels exactly like a water snake, pretty much, minus, it's like there's owners and operators of the water snake from the years 1990 to 2005 have experienced symptoms such as pinky rings, a desire to own a motorcycle, nightmares featuring Ani DeFranco, celebrity chef Anne Burrell hair, and Carhartt ass. To join the millions of Americans in the class action lawsuit against water snake, simply call the number at the bottom of your screen and tell them you're gay.
I just loved it. It's so good. And also just to name, if you're watching, like Charlie has so many levels of comedy. Like it's not like not just like the box it is like, but it really got me, and it was a time when I really needed to laugh. And I've thought about that before with regards to the water snake.
Yes, that's all they do. The whole thing is just you. Yeah.
It's like yeah. It's amazing. But nice. I did want to. Yeah.
I didn't know they were called water snakes until I bought one either. I was like, the tube, and
I
she was
didn't
like,
know they were called water
snakes
either.
Yeah, right? Because why would you ever?
Somehow that makes it a little worse that that's what they're called.
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
Totally. Yeah. Jess or Kris, I'm just gonna put it out there. If there's any of your art that you're like, I would love to share, or like this represents me, or Charlie, any of it, like please feel free to screen share or put it in the chat. Also, if you're like, no, that sounds fucking horrible, like please don't, because that would be me some days. So, but I just want to mention that you can put it in the chat or feel free just to interject either way. But comments, just so that if you have any questions, like please throw them in the chat. Network, if any pop up, if you'd let us know, that'd be great. Like we're putting them on the bottom. But I do want to ask too, just like, this is a mental health based podcast, and I know you all talk very openly about your mental health. But I'm curious if you'd be open to sharing a little bit of just like your personal journeys with it. And like, it feels like you're on a good place right now, but like maybe, we may have lost Charlie.
Plug it in laptop.
Plug in the laptop.
Thank you. It would be helpful to look at the chat. I appreciate you all. Yeah, I'm curious, to the extent that you feel comfortable sharing, what's your mental health journey been like? How are you doing right now in this like really challenging time, especially as a creative?
Okay.
And if you're
Silence.
any
I
extent,
like how me and Jess are like,
no, I
no, I mean, so I'll start.
thanks, Kris. Yeah.
I would say that my mental health starting out was really triggered in the beginning when I lost my brother around the age of 11. After that, there was just a series of unfortunate events within my family that led me to make attempts on my life. Luckily, I got help over the years because, I mean, granted, my family came from Chile. So in a third world country, you don't talk about mental health. It ain't a thing. So, finally I was able to seek out services through the schools I went to, and I was able to get better. Later on, it was still like a very, interesting battle throughout life of like depression and, trauma that I'd had as a child and things I didn't realize that were even trauma, kind of unveiling themselves over time. Then through college, I became homeless and I was on the streets of Chicago, living like underneath a bridge in Roosevelt. And it scarred me. It made me very anxious, and it made me really create this mentality of hustle hard. And we know that for a long time, that was like the thing to do. You hustle, you got to do this, got to do that. And then it just took a really bad toll on me over the years. And so from and then, that drove, because of the anxiety, that hustle, and felt like I wasn't getting well, we went to another like attempt. But I'm happy to say that over the years, due to really close friends, friends that really would listen, hear me out, a community of people that I cherish and love back in Chicago, I really was able to get the help I needed to kind of overcome and put myself into a better place. And that also went in hand with my creativity and the communities in the photography world that really understood like creatively what were the challenges I was facing, or to hear me out, And from there, it has still been challenging up to today. Not because it's essentially like I'm not depressed, but I do get anxious. And I guess I get a little depressed here and there because when I moved out here, like I said, I knew no one. And because of work, and still there are restrictions, and I haven't built a community here. So I find myself homesick a lot. But good friends, good therapists, an amazing partner who's super supportive, really changed the game. So I'm in a much better place than I was at the beginning of all this. I know there's no end to it. I feel like it's a consistent journey, but yeah, been a lot and back.
Thank you, Kris. That was so vulnerable and like beautiful. Thank you. You're amazing. I appreciate
Thank you.
it. Yeah. Charlie, I don't know if you could hear too, or Jess, like to the extent that you feel comfortable sharing your mental health journey, like feel free. If you're like, no, fuck you, that doesn't feel good today, that's cool. I think both of those are really valid. Or you can just be like, yeah, it's been a hard week. Full stop, like whatever.
I'll share. I guess that earlier, I think at the very beginning, I did not have a really good childhood. And I love my mom. My dad passed away when I was about 9 or 10 years old. Don't exactly remember. It's a little blurry. And my mom didn't, cope with that well. And it made things really, really hard. And a lot of nights it was just me and my sister. And we've all, as a family, are working, now as adults. I think I live with my parents again. So, we're working to fix that. But growing up, it was really, really hard. And then high school came around, and in very close succession, I had like 2 or 3 really good friends that all just passed away from car accidents, or my grandmother passed away, and I got into a really, really, really dark and bad place. And I started thinking that like I was cursed or something. Like I was a jinx, like things like that. And there was, like I did get to the point where there was one night where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I actually have this is actually how I know the person who asked me to do this. I actually did a documentary called Music Saved My Life, because me in particular, I ended up having a random song come in on my playlist, and I heard that song and I was like, you know what? try again, try one more time, get through tomorrow. Everything's going to be okay. And I've definitely had ups and downs. My stepdad has literally told me, he's like, you are the youngest person I know who has lost the most people. And it's not normal for someone who's in their 20s to have like all these friends who have passed away. And like, again, I had another best friend who passed away in 2017, where her and I were like this. We were in the concert scene together. We'd go to concerts together all the time. We met through a band. We were like twins almost. And I lost her, and I got into another bad place again. And, you know, grad school and being encouraged. When I went to grad school, I got encouraged by a specific professor, and we can thank him for the fact there's a book, actually. He actually very much encouraged me to pursue my writing, because I had stopped writing after my friend died in 2017, because she had been very encouraging with my writing. And when she passed away, I lost like my motivation to do it. And my professor in grad school, his name was Matt. He was awesome. And I had a class with him where it was basically, we wrote down stories and we had to pitch it like we were pitching to movie execs, and it was really cool. And he sat me down. He's like, you have a talent. He's like, you have a talent for storytelling, and you need to do something with it. And he goes, I will read whatever you write. He's like, you just need to write. And that day is actually when I sat down and I kind of wrote out the first little, in a tiny little green notebook I kept in my wallet. I wrote down like the idea for the book. And then it was a couple years before I actually sat down and wrote it. But Professor Matt was the one who got me to start writing again. And that really, really helped, because writing has been how I've coped with so much stuff over the years. And I make videos as well, and I script those out. But it's like writing these really long stories, books, screenplays, whatever. Grad school really helped with that, because it was encouraging and nurturing me to come up with these ideas. And my specific degree is in editing, and editing is storytelling, if you didn't know that. The editor of a movie, of a TV show, they're putting that story together. They're telling that story through the angles and stuff, everything that they choose. And going through grad school really, really helped with that. And I still do have my days. Like lately, I've kind of just been lacking motivation, and I don't want to say like depressed, but it's like there's definitely like a lack of motivation, a lot of sleeping happening, a lot of not really wanting to get things done during the day. But I'm kind of chalking that up to the fact I just moved and have literally no friends here. So I've kind of just been hanging out with my parents, which isn't bad, but it's very big change of pace for me, is going from seeing my friends all the time to like just kind of texting them every once in a while going, hey, I miss you. But yeah, it definitely was ups and downs, and could happen again. You never know. But right now I'm really, really happy with where I am. And I honestly think my creativity, my writing, my making my content has definitely helped with my confidence a lot, and keeping me being more open and starting those conversations. Because I have videos where I cry all the time on the internet. Like my most recent YouTube video, I'm crying like 3 times in that video, because just getting that out and being able to share that with people, it just helps. So
I watched that video, and it is really vulnerable.
And you saw me cry.
Well, no, I just was struck by how brave it was. I was like, I don't know if I could do that. And I was really like, it was really beautiful. And you were so communicative with the people who are a part of your community. You're like, this is going to stop. This is why. Is that the video you're referring to when you're talking about changing your?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was a very, very hard decision to make. But
I'm so sorry you had somebody call in on you and yell it, because somebody found your number, right? And like called you.
So with that specific situation is, once you do purchase from my website, you get a customer service phone number.
Yeah.
So they had the customer service phone number, and at the time, I don't have anybody else working for me. So it's me who answers the phones when you call customer service. It's not a public number. You just get it if you purchase something. And so, yeah, he had called through that because he had ordered something, and he was less than nice.
It was very healing to watch, though, just because I've been in situations like that for other jobs where people call and just yell in, and I thought it was so honest and vulnerable of you to share. I think a lot of people have had that experience, and it was like how healing and how generous. Same with your story you just shared, so thank you. May I ask, do you remember what the song was that you were like, oh, I'll give it another?
I do. It was called "Missing You" by the band Set It Off.
Cool.
And I'm still a huge Set It Off fan. I've seen them many, 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 many times. I can't even count how many times I've gone to their shows. So.
I'm writing it down. Okay.
Good
I
song.
think it's from like one of their first albums. So.
Cool.
Oh,
really good.
you know the song. You know the
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
That's a
you.
lame one. Okay. Cool. I'm excited about that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Charlie, do you feel like sharing today? Totally cool if not.
Sure, yeah. I think I had a very traditional mental health journey. I started therapy as a teenager. I was super fortunate to have access to that. Yeah. And they cracked me open, looked inside, and they were like, oops, we got a lot in here that needs unpacking. And I've been in therapy ever since. It's been huge. It started because I was struggling with anorexia, and then my therapist was like, oh, we got a little PTSD in there too, so we're just gonna diagnose that, keep on going. And when I moved to Chicago, I got a new therapist who just like completely changed my life. And I think therapy definitely doesn't work for everyone, but a combination of starting medication for the first time, which like ultimately was what I needed, like my brain chemistry needed some help. And then having this like just such a good therapist. I wish you could refer your friends to therapists, but unfortunately that's like the opposite of how it works because of confidentiality, I guess. But yeah, I just had someone who was like really attentive and patient, and working with her for years like completely changed the course of my mental health. And shockingly, because I know the past 2 years have been so wild, but I think I have the best mental health now of my life, and that feels really good. Yeah, but it's all about like maintenance, you got to keep going to therapy or having like peer-to-peer conversations that are similar. And like, I have to keep taking medication. For me, that it seems to be the key is to not forget. Yeah, keep doing self-care and keeping it up. And it's going pretty well. It's going well right now. We're on an upswing. Feels good.
That's awesome. Thank you. That was very cool. I was talking with a friend just the other day. She's like, I don't know, I'm having a really rough day. And then she's like, oh yeah, I forgot to take my medication. I was like, I've had those days where you're like, why do I feel like shit?
Yeah.
Been there,
yeah.
done that.
I'll be like, I'm being weird. Why am I so mad and so sad? And it's like, well, because you are detoxing from a drug that you are not supposed to stop taking. So I think that's the other thing too, is like managing my symptoms make me forget to take my medication. So I forget to take my medication, and then the symptoms get worse, and then I forget to take. It's a cycle, and you just got to stay in the loop and don't leave. And yeah.
Totally. I think so many of us are like that. I thank you for sharing that. That's so helpful. Yeah. I did have one last question, and then I do think also there's some like really supportive comments happening in the chat, if any, just so that y'all know, like no assholes yet, which is good. But everybody's just talking about how awesome you are. So just to note that. I agree with them. I did want to ask one question. Charlie, you said that you have an amazing therapist now, and I know you mentioned they were patient, but like, did you know when you walked out of the room, like, this is a good therapist, or like, do you have anything that you're like, this is what a good therapist looks like versus this is what an okay therapist looks like for you? I know it's so
different. I do think that's the key. Is I asked my therapist, what is it that you do that works for me? Like, why? Because I've had 3 or 4. Like, what is it that you're doing that other people were not doing? Because I have an idea, but I can't totally tell. And I wish I could remember some of the good therapy buzzwords, but a lot of like unconditional positive regard is sort of true throughout therapy. Of like, she's a non-judgmental person, so I can talk about I am someone who has a lot of shame and judgment for myself, and I can go in and be like, I did this thing and I am an inherently garbage person. And then she will be like, well, no, you did that thing, but now we can unpack it and go into it. And just anyone who's like, I really needed someone who was, you kind of look for what you're hoping to talk about. So I looked for like specifically a trauma therapist who specializes in PTSD. I do a thing called EMDR, which is like a type of therapy with flashing lights. So I looked for someone who could do that specifically. I looked for a therapist who was well-versed and had like other queer clients. And then I just happened to get a very queer therapist in, just by accident. I was like, oh, this is great. So someone who's like very affirming for your specific things, I feel like that's what you go for. You look for like people who have the same identities as you and like, yeah, people who get it. That's worked best
I
for
love
me.
that. Yeah. I love that. I have PTSD as well and use EMDR, and it really helps me too. So that's very cool.
Isn't it great? I thought it was such bullshit, and then it's so good.
Yeah, I'm like, how do I feel so much better? Oh my god. So yeah, EMDR. But I didn't know for years that you could Google specifically for therapists with stuff like that. Like, and I know that it can be limited depending on insurance, but you can, if you take enough time, or I asked a buddy to help me, like when I was trying to find somebody, because also it can be so overwhelming. Not to offer advice, but just to like have the conversation out there of like other people's experiences. So thank you for talking about it. It's very cool. I just want to say too that like, I've also dealt with suicidal moments in my life. And so for anybody listening, it's like there's 4 of us, you're not alone. We have a Discord channel. There's also a lot of resources on the website. So just to name that, and thanks again, everybody, for being so vulnerable. And we have some questions in the chat, which we have some really great questions. Network, would you mind to post one on the screen, please? They call him Carl. Hi, Carl. Question: what have you learned about yourself that you're really proud of? And anybody can take that to start.
For me, it's I've learned that anything I set my mind to, I can do. Like that sounds really, really weird, but it's I've learned that about myself, especially in the last couple of years. It's like if I set my mind to do something and I want to do it, I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna do it. I published a book. I set my mind on that. It was one of my goals for 2021. I make a whole list of goals at the end of the year. I need to do that for next year. Now that I'm saying that out loud. But it was on my goals list was to publish a book, and I sat down and I found other creatives to help with that, and it happened, and I set my mind to it. Same with anything I really do. I set my mind to it. I'm going to get it done. And I learned that about myself. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
I would say for myself, growing up in a Hispanic household, pride is what we have, and I realized being vulnerable and being able to ask for help is not a sign of weakness. And I think I've learned to ask for help when I need it and tell people I'm not okay. Because growing up, we just didn't have that. I was like, whatever is going on in you needs to stay in you. And when I was homeless, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell my best friends. So it wasn't until I actually asked for help. So being vulnerable, being able to ask for help, totally okay. Doesn't make you a shitty person. It makes you a better person.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Hell yeah. I love that. Oh. Yeah, I think what comes to mind is something really similar. Like just realizing it took so many years to realize like, oh, the things that have happened to me in my life are not normal or healthy. And that doesn't mean you can't talk about them, but it means like, don't assume that you are unaffected by the events of your life. I think like I was really good at like, let's just all keep it right here. And then no step 2. And yeah, learning about myself that like, oh, actually there is a healthy way to open up and to let off some of that steam has been really nice. Oh, and that some things can be like private, like guarding your heart and opening up to the right people and having like the right community. I'm really proud that I've been able to find such cool friends, basically.
Yeah. That's a really cool thing to be proud of. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Network, would you pop the next question in, please? We've got so many good ones. This is great. Ben M 2035. Hi, Ben. I'm really curious about how each of you think of creativity. It's a vague question in a way, so feel free to add precision. Oh, I like it.
Dang.
I know, it's like
They also take the lead. I was like, anybody?
I even wonder. So I'll do a spitball, and then I'll give you time to think. So if anything comes to mind, this is. What it makes me think of is like how we're all innately creative. Like it's a part of the human condition. I feel like, and I think it's one of the reasons we're so inspired when we see people like really put themselves into their art and like put it out there. Which is one of the reasons I think all three of you are so inspiring. It's like innately you and innately human at the same time. So like we can all relate to it, but also it's so individual. I don't know. Like that's kind of what popped into my mind with it. Does that spin anything in for any of you or?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's like taking an idea that you have that is, again, uniquely your own, and then bringing it to life in whatever form or capacity it comes out in. Well, that's up to you. But yeah, just take an idea and bring it to life. So.
Yeah, you're a builder. Like you made a thing out of nothing. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Charlie or Jess, do you have anything you'd like to throw in? Totally cool. Not everybody has to answer everything.
I mean, in regards to it, like I think creativity is very important and it helps you with a lot of things. And I think everybody has a different process that they do, and no process is wrong. Like there was another writer that, and I cannot for the life remember who this is, but they said something about how some writers plot point everything and they know what they're doing, and then other ones are like, my characters just do what they want and I write up a damage report. There's no wrong way to do it. I am the damage report person. They do what they want and then I just write it down. And I think that's very important to just know that there's no wrong way to do it. And however your process is for your creativity is your own, and don't let anybody tell you that you're doing it wrong. Like that was something I hated when I was taking art classes in college, my professor telling me I was doing things wrong. But I was like, you know what? I still got an A on this and I didn't do it how you told me to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. There's no right way to do it. Creativity is how you do it and how you explore, and it's what you want it to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think they nailed it. I have nothing. That rocks.
I like that. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, especially like at art school. I've had experiences like that too, where they're like, "This is better than this," and I'm like, "Is it?" Like, it's subjective. Would you mind to throw the next question in, please, Network? Skramsky, might be a weird question, but what was your favorite or weirdest quarantine survival hobby? I got really into furniture restoration, despite no experience or space in my 450 square foot apartment. This is such a great question. Yeah.
Can I show it, because I have it like right here?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. Please.
So my quarantine hobby oddly became decorating selenite daggers.
That is cool.
No. So
my
I decorate.
Would live and breathe for that. That is so cool.
This one specifically is a Legend of Zelda one. It's got the Triforce there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love these. They're so cool, and I make wands, make these, and I still do it. It's been a fun hobby to do, to be honest.
That's sick.
And being able to work with like different types of crystals and gems, and it's fun. That's my weirdest quarantine hobby that I picked up. I started doing that this year, and it's been a blast.
Thank you for sharing. That's so cool.
That's so cool.
That's dope.
I started drawing on eggs to throw one out there. I like do little faces on eggs. Like and it just made me so happy. Like in the morning, you'd go and look at them. And like somebody did that once to me, like once in college. I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. And I always wanted to do it. And now I do it every time we get eggs. I just drew little art pictures on my eggs so that I smile when I eat breakfast. That's my favorite hobby. Do you have any, Kris or Charlie?
I got really into bird watching.
Cool. And you mentioned
Looking at birds. I think about birds a lot. Yeah, I got really into like, I didn't know there were so many. There's so many birds. Too many, arguably. And I got into watching them and keeping track of like which new types of birds I'd seen. And yeah, I got myself a little bird journal. That was my quarantine hobby.
What do you write in it? Like what the
I
bird
write
is
like it'll be like waterfowl and then (duck) Chicago River and then like the date.
cool.
Yeah.
I like voids.
I like that just popped up.
Yeah.
I like voids.
I love it.
Oh, Kris, did you have any hobbies? Was that something you did throughout the pandemic?
I had the unfortunate hobby of buying everything on Amazon, TikTok, like finds.
Yeah.
And it was so bad. I just remember I was living with these two other girls in an apartment, and I would just buy the most random stuff to build a studio. And yet building a studio never happened. Like I had lace come in and feathers and stuff just so I could use for props. Never happened. But the other thing I bought a lot of, which if any of my friends are watching, they'll know, I bought a lot of Vans shoes. And
I thought you meant like the vehicle, and I was like a lot.
Oh, no. No.
I get it now. You bought a lot of shoes. Very cool.
No, Vans of shoes. I have 36 pairs.
What do you love about
of just Vans? I love the style, and I would also there's Vans has a vault collection, so they're all limited edition with artist collabs. So I'd buy those, and I became a sneakerhead, but just Vans because I could care less about anything else. Plus, they're affordable because the most expensive are going to be $100. I'm not paying $300 for a shoe. So, but yeah, it was really bad. I've stopped. Now I buy Doc Martens.
Do you have a favorite pair? And if so, what do they look like?
So they're from W Taps. It's a Japanese collaboration with Vans. They're orange and they have crossbones on them.
Oh.
But they're bright orange. They're so nice. I love them to death, but I can't wear them all the time because I can't let them get wrecked. I became that person.
I did that with my pair of Vans. I had a pair of Spider-Man Vans when they did a collab with Marvel. And I wore them to the point where they're like falling apart. But I bought a second pair in case that happened.
Oh, you were smart about it. Nice.
I love the color orange too. Something that's so healing. It's one of my favorite characters in anime too. Has like an orange like beauty.
Orange is the best color.
Yeah, it's so sad. So healing. Cool. Thank you. Network, would you put the next question in the chat, please? Skramsky, thanks, Skramsky. If you could choose one place to live for the rest of your life, where would you live and why? That's hard.
I know it.
Do you? That's amazing.
I do. I got sent on one of my first work trips to Scotland, and we had to go to. I know it was ridiculous. I was able to meet my friend Allison out in Scotland, and we joked about us meeting up. Yeah, Allison, exactly, Charlie. Yeah,
crazy.
So. We joked about it. It was like, oh, what if they sent you Scotland? They literally did a month after me moving there. But I went to an island off the coast of Scotland, the Isle of Mull. It is so remote, so peaceful. It is beautiful. I'm happy to live there for the rest of my life. The only issue is that I would like concerts there, but it's not the type of island they're gonna go to. So,
you can start those like fly-in concerts. Do you know what I'm talking about? The like 20 to 50 people, and they're just like a pop-up on the island of Mull, and then like
just pop-up concerts we're gonna have there.
Yeah, man, that's cool. Oh, cool. Thanks.
It's so beautiful there. It's so nice, and you can and because Scotland has the right to roam, you can just go wherever. Even if like private property, it's private. And someone can tell you like, hey, you're a little bit too close to my house. And it's like out of respect. No one gives you an issue. But if there's like a beautiful view in someone's like backyard, you can roam back there, take photos, and then go. Like it's amazing.
That's so cool.
I love this place.
Whoa.
That's neat.
Is added to the bucket list. Wow.
It was so cold, but so beautiful.
Was it the culture too, Kris, that you fell in love with, or were you like, this is the most beautiful place on earth, and like just like taking it in?
The culture is really nice. I mean, I drank a lot of gin when I was there. So if that's the culture, I'm totally
The culture,
for it.
yeah.
The culture of gin.
Very cool.
No, the people were so nice too. And there's sheep, and there's just like wild sheep and cows everywhere. And it's just like so cool. I loved it.
I love sheep. That's dope. Oh, thank you for giving me a new bucket place. That's very cool.
Gotcha.
Does the place come to mind for you, Charlie or Jess?
I mean, I don't necessarily, I get bored living in one place for too long. But if I had to pick, and this is not at all logical, can we like put a house in the middle of like Niagara Falls? Is that doable? Because I love waterfalls and I love Niagara Falls, but I don't want to like live in the area around it. I want to live on it.
Yes, like
Is that doable?
Like a floating anime castle.
Yeah, something like that. Like that would be the dream. But other than that, I'm like, yeah, I don't like living in one place for too long. So.
We'll get there. It could be like a Howl's Moving Castle. Are you a Miyazaki fan?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I'm actually near Niagara Falls. I'm traveling to my partner's family for the holidays right now.
I'm
going
jealous.
for the first time. So
I haven't been there in so long, and it's literally like my favorite place to go.
Yes, Howl's Moving Castle. This is your home. Thank you, network. You're killing it.
I want one.
If you've not seen this anime, I just think it's one of my. I watched it a lot during the pandemic.
It's my favorite.
Really?
Did we all just watch anime during the pandemic? Did anybody else just like start watching it? Like, because I never watched anime really until the pandemic.
I went deep on. Did any of you know the anime One Piece?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it is my lifeblood now. I've watched all of it. Like I can't, like I'm learning Japanese. I was like, if I had to pick a place, maybe Japan, just because like it really like, I don't know. I think it was just like the courage and that character and the chosen family, because I'm not as close to my immediate family. So then like the chosen family, I don't know. There's a lot that really did it for me during the pandemic that I was like, my soul is healed. I'm ready for it. But also I love Miyazaki, and
I love it when anything focuses on chosen family though, because I feel like that's so important, especially if you didn't have like a great family experience growing up, like myself. Mm-hmm. Being able to have a chosen family is so amazing, and that is definitely something that I love. And it's in my book.
I'm so excited to read this.
So, yeah, I definitely like. I love the idea of chosen family anytime that's in something, and I feel like it needs to be stressed more and talked about more, because your family can be the people you choose, not the people you're born with. So
yes, yeah, it's important. I don't want to stay on this too, but She-Ra too. Have any of you watched She-Ra?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't watched it, but I've seen enough about it that I think I know how it goes.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. Chosen family, also just like queer and lovely, and I just wish I would have had it as a younger person, but I'm glad I have it now too.
Totally.
Very cool. Did you have a place come to mind, Charlie? Do you want to live in a floating castle?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, I have two. No, I've narrowed it down. In South Dakota.
What?
Stick with me. Okay. There's look, and I know, and I've only been once, but there's this network. If you could pull this up, there's a
you gotta say it first.
A groundhog petting zoo. Kind of just like out. So it's groundhogs. I would Google, what would I search if I were trying to find this? South Dakota.
Groundhog petting zoo isn't specific
groundhog. Yes. Okay. Yes. So, okay. I'm losing my mind. It's outside. It is right next to the highway as you enter a national park. They just casually are like, hey, do you want to have the experience of a lifetime? And I've never felt more dopamine flush my system than I did like giving an almond to a groundhog. It was awesome. They were like all chubby. It was so good. Oh my gosh. That's where I want to live, is right there next to this place.
With the groundhogs. I love it.
In like their own hole next to him?
Good question.
Yeah. I gotta be underground for sure. I want to be in a cave.
Oh, you can be like your own little hobbiton. Well, I like have these.
Ooh, reptile gardens. Okay.
Oh. Oh my God, they're.
That was me, essentially.
This is cool.
This is even more specific. The place I went was truly like no one was there, and like no one worked there. It was just happening. It was great.
They're a great.
I like how Kris had like a logical response, and then me and Charlie were like, "No."
Yeah, we went from like okay to what?
Living with the ground, but like I get it. They look so cute.
Yeah, it's that. So like they live in the ground, and then they come up. You get to feed them. You can buy like specific groundhog food from the people.
Do this now.
Oh,
And
they'll let you just touch them. It's nuts.
The
I recommend it.
Totally in. I think it was Ben. Somebody posted in the chat like groundhogs have underground networks. So many layers. Okay,
the Groundhogs for Us network.
We have a spin-off, ladies and gentlemen. I'm genuinely writing it down. Side question. I think we have a couple questions left. But I know this is reminding me of like travel is a huge thing I do for my mental health. Oh my God, look at this! Like, you get to just find things. Is that something? That was one of the things that was hardest for me in the pandemic. Was like, wow, I don't think I realized how much I was leaning on this. Like, I know Kris, you'd mentioned similar with concerts. So I was like, oh, I think I was hiding behind this a lot. But also now that I've done a little bit more work, I'm like, oh, this is innately something. Like, I must have nomads in my bloodline. I don't know much about my previous family, but it feels deep like that. Is anybody else feeling that right now? Of like, oh, travel. Any thoughts on travel?
Yeah, I love to travel. I feel like it's so important for my mental health, and not being able to was really weird.
Yeah.
The stuck feeling, I think, was triggering for some of my PTSD. You know, like, and I don't know, I just realized I hadn't talked about that on a podcast at all. And like, if anybody else is feeling stuck, you know, I just to not feel alone, because, man, yeah. Network, do you have any more questions for us? It's cool if not. I have others lined up. I never get to ask all my questions because everybody's so lovely.
The question is amazing.
Yeah. This is such a good question.
It's the best question we've had all day.
One answer.
Sock shoe.
There's only a correct answer and then a what?
I am firmly sock, shoe. And I think if you are going sock, shoe, like, why?
Are you okay?
And, live your life, but like, explain to me.
Who hurt you?
Or like, what's the benefit?
I would like to interview someone who does the sock shoe.
Does anybody? Yeah, Carl, is that what you do? Does anybody in the chat do sock shoe? Because I am curious, genuinely. We won't shame you. We just want to know why.
Yeah, I love your culture. I'm just so confused.
What's the thought process of going sock shoe? Like, what are you thinking in your head when you do that?
The response is definitely shoe, sock, shoe. It's like putting on a uniform in all.
Wait! You're putting the shoe on and then the sock?
Wait,
and then the sock. And then the shoe.
I may have said. Wait.
No, you said it correctly.
No, you said it correctly. I'm reading it.
Would you put it on the screen, please, Network? It's like putting on a uniform, though. There's other people that there's no pattern. I'm
sock shoe. That's what
you.
Carl says. Okay.
Sock, shoe, sock. That makes sense. Not shoe, sock. But okay, I get putting on a uniform. We see you, Carl. That's good.
If that's what you want to do,
no one's judging you.
No.
We'll try not to judge it.
Ben says Carl is valid AF.
Carl is valid.
Ben is right.
Carl is valid.
We're sorry we didn't understand, Carl.
I'm gonna switch up my routine now.
He says hashtag feeling seen. Great. Good. What a great question. I hope you ask a lot of people that question. That's my hope. Very cool. So as we start to like, we've got a little bit of time yet, but I just want to make sure there's space. Are there things that you're like, man, I really hope to share this on this podcast, or anything that we've talked about there? Like, this is still on my heart and I'd like to share on my heart. That sounded very, I like grew up in a cult and I was like, oh, that definitely came out of that. anything in you that you're like, oh, I really want to share this right now.
I mean, I think we covered a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about already. I mean, I can't think of anything that wasn't.
Oh, good. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, same. This was a blast. Thank you for having me. That's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Lots of fun.
Yeah, I think y'all are awesome. I feel so inspired. I would like to, Carl, this is a great question. Jess, would you ever do a book signing?
Oh, I've been asked that so many times. I do have done like limited signed runs on like my website, but like as far as doing like a book signing, I would definitely love to do it one day. Maybe not nowadays with all the pandemic craziness, but I would definitely love to do that one day. I feel like I'd have to figure out like where I have like the biggest fan base to kind of figure that out. Probably would have been smarter to do it when I lived in Chicago instead of out in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. But
I mean, I like to travel, Jess. You let me know. You let me know.
If someone comes up to me and is like, I have your book, will you sign it? I will do it. Like I've done it. So
yeah,
they find me. The fans find me. So
that's pretty dope. That's dope. Your people, I like it when your people find you. Like, I think actually that's more true usually. You're like, this is me, and then the people come, as opposed to like, where are my people?
I will admit, I've had some uncomfortable experience with fans in public that have found me. Like, there's definitely people that I don't think talk about that a lot, but there's definitely times fans have made me uncomfortable. But for the most part, they've been awesome.
How have you handled that? Or...
I tend to just keep on the it's great to see you. This isn't at all creepy kind of thing. I don't say that, but I'll keep it, and then I'll go home and I'll be like, that was really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
because I don't want to be like mean, because I know they're just like excited and they're not like they don't know what to do in that situation. So I've definitely had a couple that have like made me a little bit like, that was really awkward, and I don't want to experience that again.
Yeah. Yep. Again, the reality of putting yourself out there. Like, thank you for sharing. Yeah. Carl, I'll ask Charlie, would you ever be interested to produce a digital performance? And then there's a follow-up.
Yeah, totally. I think internet stream shows are going to make a huge comeback. Yeah.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, I would love that.
Cool. Keep us posted, Charlie. That'd be
the next Netflix special is Charlie.
Yeah. I'm following all y'all.
Will do.
Yeah. This is great, my Lord of the Morning. Damn, I love Kris's photography in the gallery. I am with you.
So good.
Is there more ways to interact with your photography online, Kris? Like, I feel like with the shifting of like, is the best way to go to your website? And this kind of like leads into too, like, I think so many people are going to want to follow all of you, and we put it in the chat, but just so it's verbal too, in case somebody's just listening. If you'd start, Kris, just like, what's the best way to like, are you going to have a show online? Where can we follow you? Like, where can we stay up to date?
I would love to do a gallery sometime. I did a gallery once in Chicago with the collaboration with the Annex in Chicago, and we did the Photo Ladies. So it's a group of women photographers. But yeah, so it's probably my website and my Instagram. So it's krislori.com, and then Instagram is Kris_Lori. But yeah, I'm hoping that in the coming year, I'm putting out some photos for a grant with Leica for women photographers. So all I can say is that we're recruiting the models now and getting the styling going, hopefully makeup, but the project we called War on Women. So I'm very excited.
Yeah,
very
cool. Thank you for telling us about that. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and y'all, if you haven't already, check out the gallery. This is all on the Archives' homepage. So if you just want an easy link to any of these amazing humans as well, you can pop there. But let's see, would y'all, I just had a brain block on the best way to do this. So all of these amazing links are posted in the chat as well as on the Art Gives Us Hope website. But would you all just like quickly say too the way you like to be followed or the best way for people to continue to follow your work so that they can stay up to date with you?
I'll go first, I guess.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, all of my stuff is stressinabox.com. I have all of my stuff linked on that site some way or another. So stressinabox.com.
Thanks,
Yeah.
network.
Hey, there's me.
I love that photo of you.
That was such a fun shoot to do. I had so much fun doing that photo shoot.
Very cool. Also, too, this is a total sidebar, but there was something with ice on your Instagram where you're like pointing up to the ceiling and you're like different colorations of light is how you get to the top.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank fuck, I'm not crazy. I was
No,
like,
you're not crazy. You're not crazy. Now that you said that, I understand what you were talking. Was that what you were talking about at the beginning?
Yes, and I was
Yes.
like, of course, is the first question.
No, yeah. When I was in high school, I taught ice safety classes. So I've been seeing a lot of videos on like my For You page on like TikTok and stuff of people walking out on ice because it's getting cold again. And so I started making a couple videos about it because I had two cousins that fell through ice when I was in high school and they passed away, unfortunately. And so I did a bunch of research and started a not-for-profit when I was like 16, and I toured the state of Illinois with like state reps and did like assemblies at school. It was really cool. But yeah, that's what that was what that video was, is I was kind of going through and explaining and answering questions that people had in my comments because yeah, it's a lot of people don't realize that there's a way to survive that, and it's not something a lot of people know.
Yeah. So. Well, it's so common in Chicago. So like, thank you for doing that. I'm definitely going to go check that out more in depth then too. And so if you're in Chicago or someplace with ice, like I don't know of anybody else doing that. Thank you. That's very cool. I'm glad I figured it out. So that
I didn't connect it at the beginning because it's like not what I was like a new thing I started talking about like in the last few days. So I was like, what?
No, totally. I didn't phrase it well too. I always start interviews nervous, and then like it feels more comfortable as I go on. I'm sure like most folks are like, or at least a lot of people have been kind and told me to do the same. So I was like, we'll move on. I'm glad that it worked out. Cool. Thank you so much. And then Charlie, where can folks find you?
Yeah, all over the internet at non-binary cowboy. So I've got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, or you can go to charliejamescomedy.com and it's got all those links in there. One-stop shop. Yeah, I'm everywhere. Come find me.
Cool. Thank you. And Kris, best place is your website and Instagram. Is that true? Or?
Yeah, those are both true. The website also has my print shop, which will be updated next month.
Cool. And what are the names of both of those again? Can you just?
Oh, the web. Yeah. So it was krislori.com, and then Instagram is Kris_Lori.
Cool.
Ta-da.
All right.
It's Kris with a K.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're
That's
hired.
important. That's important to know.
Cool. Well, y'all, this is a part of a larger weekend. So if you're listening, please check out again the Art Gives Us Hope websites. And it can be network. If you'd post that in the chat, that would be awesome. Very cool. Okay. Just making sure I didn't miss anything in the chat. My show is going to screen this evening at 7 p.m. CST. It's called One Woman Hamlet, and it's my own personal journey with depression, anxiety, paralleled with Shakespeare's Hamlet using puppets and music. And yeah, thank you. And like other mixed media. So thank you. Y'all are awesome. I appreciate it. So yeah, if you're free tonight and you want to check it out, I'll also be in the chat again to answer questions, talk a little bit more about it. And there's a lot of other great shit. So please check it out on Art Gives Us Hope. And thank you all again for your vulnerability. I was really jazzed to do this and to get to know all of your art and you a little bit more. So I appreciate the space and the trust. And thanks for being so amazing. I usually close out with just like 3 big breaths and just like taking up a little space. If you're like, that sounds fun, cool. If you're like, that doesn't sound fun, or you'd rather not do it on camera, totally. Yeah, thank you. Like, you're welcome to step off or shut off your screen or even leave. But if it sounds fun, whether you're listening or in the chat, just taking up a little bit of space, you can open up your arms, or if that's not so good on your shoulders, you can drop hands and place palms away from you. And just taking a moment to be big when so often we're asked to be small. And taking a moment to acknowledge that no matter how you feel, no matter how you feel when you leave today, you took time to show up and like experience something, and that's really hard to do and really rare. And I think you're really cool and enough. I'm just gonna guide us through 3 big breaths. I'll do the first one so you can see kind of what it's like, and then if it sounds good, so you can do 3 more. So it's just a big, slow inhale. And then maybe on the exhale, making some noise, letting go of if that feels good, just doing 2 more. Laughter, anger, all of it's welcome. Taking a big breath in, if that feels good. You can be slower or faster than me. And 2 more in out. And last one. And thanks, y'all. I really appreciate you. And thanks to everybody in the chat for the awesome questions. Thanks, network.